Beautiful cold day here in the Midwest. How's everybody doing out there? Crazy time we're living in. Never experienced this in my whole life, obviously. My parents have never experienced this in their whole lives. But I hope everybody's doing good out there. Obviously, most people are hunkered down with the virus going around. We're staying hunkered down here at the homestead. It's kind of cool because we have a bunch of projects we need to get done anyway. And so we have the ability to take on some of these bigger projects and preparing for the spring. So there's good that's coming out of this whole thing. But we're definitely praying for this to end and for normal to return. But until that comes, we're taking it one day at a time, just like I know most of you guys are out there. Anyway, leave some comments down below. Let us know how you're doing, how y'all are holding up, and how we can be praying for you, because that's super important during this time. Today we're actually going to be the last video we made. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link in the description below. But it's basically an instruction video on how we made our raised beds for the Hügelkultur that we're putting in for the spring. Today we're gonna talk a little bit more about Hügelkultur, and we're gonna show you exactly how we're filling those beds. So it'll be a cool little video, and we'll talk through some of this process. Right here in my truck, I have a maple that got cut down. One of my buddies cut it down just here recently, and he's been bringing logs over ever since he cut it down. I cut these up into 1 foot sections, and we're going to be putting these in one of the Hügelkultur beds. So I'm going to take these, drive them over to the beds in my truck, and show you what we got going on over on that side of the property. During our self-quarantine, our kids have been enjoying the toads that they've been finding in the pond over here. We got a bunch of toads that showed up the other day when it was 70 degrees. They caught one yesterday. They quarantined it inside of our house, and now they're playing with it in the kayak. So they're keeping themselves busy and occupied during this time. Isaiah, show me the toad. There it is. What's his name?
Goldeneye.
Goldeneye, the toad. And Cassie and Fern aren't getting along too well. They're checking each other out, but Cassie attacked her earlier.
Yeah.
So you better watch your back, Cassie. Judge, don't you go after Fern. So just for you guys out there that don't know what Hügelkultur is, again, I'll leave a link in the description below. You can check out some of the information on it, but it's a German method of gardening called hill gardening, where they would take logs and they would pile them up in a row on the ground, and they would fill it with soil, or they would cover it with soil, and it would break down. All that log would break down, produce nice, good nutrients for the soil, and then it would also retain moisture, release heat, a bunch of other things. So that's the method of gardening that we're doing here in all of these 20 raised beds eventually. We're starting with 6, and the one that you see right here next to me has been filled with, like I showed you, those foot logs that are in my truck back here. These have been filled already in the bottom, and so we just covered it all with branches and logs. Here, I'll show you over here. Here's a better view. So logs and branches, you want a mixture of stuff that's already been seasoned and is broken down a little bit, combined with green wood, so that your bed has a good mixture of nutrients that it can release the first season and then on to the next ones. And then this bed over here has already been filled with mulch, and basically we take up the bottom foot. So these are two foot high beds. We take up the bottom foot with sticks, logs, branches, and then mulch goes on top of that, and it sinks down into the cracks and fills the holes. And then the last foot, so the rest of the space that you see here remaining, will get covered with compost and topsoil. So it's a foot of branches, logs, sticks, mulch, any organic material like that is a little bit more dense. You can take the mulch, and then on top of that goes your compost and topsoil. We get our compost topsoil mixture from a place called Missouri Organics. It's out here just right down the road from us. We're blessed to have it just real close to us, and they do deliveries. And so we're going to get a truck either today or tomorrow to fill these beds up. We're getting a full truckload that will hopefully fill all 6 of these first beds, so we can get some plants in the ground and we can start growing. Because if we don't get these beds built, we really have no other place to plant. This was our, plan A. So we don't want to go to plan B. We want to be able to plant in these beds. Let's get started on laying some of these logs in the last bed over here, and we'll get the mulch in, and we'll show you how this process works. Fern's having a sunbathe over here. So the great thing about these logs that I got from a buddy is this tree was dying, and it has a little bit of a punky center. So that'll break down real good and be able to have, pieces of mulch and stuff go down in it. So for the most part, you don't want tons of gaps in all of this. Obviously you're gonna have some, and those are gonna be filled with the mulch. But by and large, you don't want big air gaps in this, because it will create room for unhealthy fungus and stuff like that. All right, so the bed behind me is filled. I'm good with this. Good kind of selection of logs we got going on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go get the skid steer. We got our mulch pile over here in the driveway because it's been too muddy for the tree guys to dump in our yard. So I'm gonna get the skid steer, grab a bucket of mulch, and I'm gonna show you how I just put it on here and sink it in. So before I grab mulch and put it in this bed, I want to show you what I'm doing, and I'm prepping this other bed too, so I can just do the mulch all at once. But I got logs in here. This is all green wood, so it's not seasoned, hasn't sat, it just got cut this season. So one thing I do for the green log, especially the bigger ones, is I take my chainsaw and I just do a plunge cut right down into the top of them to allow some of that moisture and organic material to go down into the log, to help it saturate and rot a little bit better and break down a little bit better. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how I'm doing that. So that's it, that's all you do. I just plunge cut straight down the center of these, and I let it go in. The chainsaw is gonna want to push out of the log, and so as I'm plunge cutting down with the bar, I bring it backwards like this. It's a little bit safer of a cut too, so just going straight in. And I'll go out the side of the log. So let's do a couple slices in each of these big ones, and as you can see, it came out the side here and here. So that's I just want air and water and stuff to be able to get through there, and I only do it on the bigger ones. These are already punky, so I didn't do it on the center. I mean, you can feel that it's soft right there. Obviously be extremely careful when you're using a chainsaw like this. When you're doing a plunge cut into these, it's not the safest cut out there, and so you want to make sure your stance is good, your legs are away from the log and they're not in front, your body's not in front, your face is not in front of where the bar can kick back up into your face. And so obviously dealing with the chainsaw, it's a dangerous tool, so make sure you're careful when you're doing that. All right, let's go over here and grab that mulch and we'll start putting it in. So once you got your mulch in here, I just take a bucket full, dump it in here. It takes about a bucket and a half to really get this thing where it's a good level. But after I got it in, I try to spread it out the best I can with the bucket. Then I just take a little landscape rake, a hard rake like this, and I just push it around. The goal here is that we're just getting, the mulch and all the cracks, the crevices. All right, let's get one more scoop and put it on this end.
One in all the holes.
Yeah, just mix it around. hit it. So the last little bit with this, once you have enough mulch on, is basically just taking the rake, like my wife is doing, and just kind of working it down into the holes, the crevices, making sure it's all filled. Yeah, so the whole fam has worked their way out of the house while I've been doing the Hgelkultur beds, and my wife started painting the Nook. So this is the color. It's a purple. And the trim that's around the windows, we've done a bunch of stuff to the Nook that I'll show you what we did so far, but the trim is going to be white. So we're super excited about the color. We found this a gutter. It's a gutter. Yeah, a gutter. It's a gutter. So we found this paint at a restore, like a Habitat for Humanity restore, for super cheap, so we got it. Anyway, the color works perfectly. So let me show you what we did so far to the Nook. We got this window on here. This is actually supposed to be a
Daddy, what is this for?
That's a gutter.
Here, I'll show you.
That's actually supposed to be a vertical window. We turned it into a horizontal because it's on a shed, you know. And then this window in the back I installed. I had all these vinyl windows already, so that's why I used them. And then I put a new gutter on the side here. We haven't put the doors on yet, or we're gonna put a door with a glass in it basically on the front, but we haven't done that yet. Let me show you what we did inside. So inside, got the window. We started to paint the kids obviously, and my wife started to paint the inside of the Nook here. So I built this little table so that you could put a computer here, you could sit and read, whatever. We're gonna have 2 stools over here. We're probably gonna have like a sitting couch over here, and then one over here, and then some kind of decorative stuff over here on this side. And I'm thinking this is where we might put we're gonna get like a mini cubic wood stove and put it somewhere on the wall over here. But this is pretty cool because this is a casement window that unlocks. Let me unlock it here. And then you just crank it out. Just like that. Sorry, Ma. And you can crank this window out. And you can sit here, do work, read, hang out with the Lord, whatever you're going to do. And open the window up. So this is a cool little feature on there.
Daddy, can I have
You can have that, yeah, you can have that. So yeah, that's what we've done so far in the Nook. Don't play with the paint, buddy, come on out. All we gotta do, all that's left to do really is to put that front door on and trim out the rest of the trim. Well, some of the trim's gonna stay. We're gonna paint the trim and then trim out the rest. And then I'm gonna redo the gutter on this side as well. And then it's done. So we're making good progress on the Nook. All right, our soil's just getting here, so right on time. I'm gonna have him dump it right here and be able to move it with the skid steer. He's gonna see how far back he can get without sinking in the dirt. This is Missouri Organics compost and topsoil mix. It's got some sand in it, as you can see, and this is about 20 yards. We're gonna end up getting 16 more yards to fill the rest of the beds, but this is 20 to fill a little more than half of them basically. So we'll go ahead and hop on the skid steer, and we're gonna fill that last bed that I already completed with mulch and everything. We're gonna go ahead and fill it with some topsoil here. So let's get started. All right, guys, it's full. So I put about 2 buckets of topsoil in here And man, I already love it for a couple different reasons. First, I can stand around the edges and work. And the simple fact that I can be in this position working with my hands is just amazing. I mean, I'm used to having to get down on my knees or whatever it is, and in this position, if I am on my knees, I mean, that's even better. Perfect on my back. It's just a great scenario for gardening in. So I'm super pumped about this. Obviously this is the first bed. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll plant in this, see how it does. One thing I did note from doing this one is that I'm gonna put a little bit more mulch in the next one, because this took 2 buckets and it's still not all the way full. So I wanna make sure we're maximizing our soil. We're not putting too much in here, because eventually next year when we plant back in these again, the wood chips and the wood underneath all of this soil is gonna break down, and we're gonna have a nice nutrient dense soil next year. So I don't want to spend and waste a ton of money on filling these whole things up with soil. So a foot is what tomatoes and some deeper rooted plants need, so that's what we're doing. From what I can tell so far, the soil is nice. It's got some sand mixed in here, but so far as clumping, when you grab it and clump it together, it falls apart, mainly because of the sand. So we got some good drainage with the sand, and it's a compost mixed with topsoil, and this is one of their higher rated mixes, and it's a little bit more expensive but totally worth it in the long run. So obviously with these beds, we'll keep y'all posted on planting and that type of stuff, how it goes when we put our plants in here and the way they're going to grow. We'll show you the progress with these beds and how well they do or how well they don't do. We'll have to figure it out. This is all a learning experience for us. We've never done this before, but we trust the way that people have done it in the past, and we've heard really good results from this method of gardening, so we're super excited about that. Guys, everyone that's out there that's watching, before I end this video, I just want to say one thing that we've realized as a family and dealing with this incident is the importance for the things that we do with our hands, gardening and growing our own food, and being self-sufficient in that way. I mean, to a degree, we're all connected, and we can't do it on our own, and we shouldn't be doing it on our own. We should be doing it in community with each other. And so, but just the simple fact that we can go in our backyard, pick a couple of veggies for dinner that night, that is super valuable. And in our day and age, we've lost that. It hasn't passed from generation to the next, but I do see a trend that's changing, that younger people want to know more about gardening, about permaculture, about sustainability, and all these things, where their food actually comes from and what they're eating is actually healthy. So that's one thing that we've realized as a family during this crisis, is the importance of this, what we're doing here. We have been we can actually order groceries where we're at here in the city, and Whole Foods will deliver them to our doorstep. And obviously, just like you guys out there, it's hard to get food right now, because people are panicking and stocking up and all of that stuff. And so it makes it hard to get food, just normal food that you would get for a week or two or whatever. So we just come to this realization that what we're doing here is part of the future. This is where we're headed, not for crisis, but this is where we're headed, to be able to grow and get our hands dirty and grow in the soil and produce our own food, whether it be meat, veggies, fruit, whatever it is. We need to know how to do this for the future. So anyway, guys, we love y'all out there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for following our journey to Goshen, and thank you for checking in on us and seeing how we're doing. We really appreciate that. Remember, guys, if you want to stay connected to our journey and what we're doing here on Goshen, just hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell next to it, and hit all, and you'll get all of our notifications of future videos that we release. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see y'all in the next video.